Hey, everybody, welcome. I'm Natalie. This is Scientology Life After a Cult. Today, we're going to talk about how cults like Scientology recruit, what you may not know. Former members like Leah Remini and others have been focusing on exposing Scientology, and on today's cult recap, there's disturbing out of Hollywood. Scientology is preparing for a big recruitment event for the holidays. Also in the news, cult expert Rick Ross delves into the creepy ways cults in America are trying to recruit young people. We have so much to talk about. Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Thank you, moderators, for being here. Thank you to everybody who's in the chat. And thank you to the members for being here as well. Okay, hold on a second. I want to show you guys something that I saw. If you guys follow Cricket Cinema, then you know, let's take a look at this. This really spoke to me. I really liked it. Take a look at this. I think it really says a lot. This is from Cricket Cinema here on YouTube. Defiance just improves with age. And then you have these image of people who look like they're protesting, won't be silent. And like I feel like it's such a visual of how do I describe it? It's such a visual of the mix of people coming together to expose Scientology, other cults as well. I feel like 2025 is going to be the year of exposing cults and a way of bringing people together from so many different backgrounds to kind of tackle this problem. Oh, I sound like I'm underwater? What in the world? Hey, SP Crusader. Orca, yours too? Okay, hold on. Let's see. Are we doing good now? Okay, I think I know what it was. There was a video playing in the background, I think, but I'm glad that we are okay now, everybody. Hopefully you were able to hear what I said earlier. I wonder, should we just restart? Nancy, can you tell me when I first started, could you hear that okay? Did it cut out after that for a little bit? Okay, Jolie, that's interesting. You left and came back and then it was fine. Okay, let's push forward. Hey, Chantel, I see you guys jumping in. Aloha. Thank you too, you guys, for putting the alohas in the chat. You know that I love that. I love that. All right, so now let's jump over. Before we get into, we're going to go to Hollywood and talk about some crazy stuff that Scientology is doing. And like I said, we're going to delve into a recent interview with cult expert Rick Ross. And oh, cults in America, cults recruiting young people is a hot topic, and I'm very glad about this. But first, let's go over and talk about a little bit of Priscilla Presley news. Over at the Underground Bunker, they just put out an article. Danny Masterson's attorney is helping Priscilla Presley play hardball in court. You guys might remember, or you may not know, Priscilla Presley is involved in a legal case with her own company. So, while we wait for Priscilla Presley to respond to the bombshell allegation in an Orlando lawsuit made by her former business partner, Bridget Cruz, so that is the person involved here, that Priscilla has a previously unidentified grandchild with Elvis Presley living today in Florida, she's hitting back hard at Cruz in a separate elder abuse lawsuit in Scientology. So this previously unidentified child was identified at growing up in Scientology. Aaron Smith Levins shared information that it was actually Riley Keough who donated the egg to Kelly and John Travolta so they could have their child Ben, which is pretty amazing. That is such an amazing thing to do, especially at such a young age. She was like, I think around 21 or 22 or so when she did that. But the point though is that was mentioned in this lawsuit against Priscilla Presley. And now Priscilla Presley has hired Marty Singer, who worked with Danny Masterson. So this initial lawsuit kicked off in October of 2023 by Priscilla Presley Partners, LLC, against Priscilla, which is kind of weird when you think about it. Let's being sued by yourself, it seems. Priscilla was being sued by her own company in Orlando. So the lawsuit alleges that Priscilla was near bankruptcy when in late 2022, she's turned for help to Cruz, an auctioneer whom she had worked with previously. Cruz and a man named Kevin Fialco signed contracts in Florida in January of 23, creating Priscilla Presley Partners with Priscilla in order to use her celebrity to make money, which makes sense. If she was struggling financially, what can she move? And that's kind of sad that if that's true, and she was struggling financially, that she had to turn to this and then ended up being taken advantage of, alleged, or at least that's what the lawsuit is about. It says, but things begin to turn around for her. And as Priscilla, the movie about her by Sofia Coppola, was coming out in October last year, the lawsuit alleges that Priscilla cut out Cruz and Fialco and the companies they had formed. So is it that, that movie was coming out, she was going to start to make some money on that, she didn't have to go the other way, she cut them out? Did they get butthurt? They're suing her. I mean, it just seems like it's super messy. But the interesting part here is that she's using Danny Masterson's attorney and is filing an elder abuse lawsuit against them. So this was actually filed in July. And I think it's interesting what's coming out about this. So the article goes on to say it's not too unusual for Hollywood celebrities to turn to Marty Singer, who is known for his pugnacious style. But we think it's worth pointing out that it was also Singer who got aggressive with Jane Doe 3 and her husband when they had raised questions about Scientology celebrity Danny Masterson on social media. So it is interesting. She's using that lawyer. There's allegations of elder abuse. And we're just going to have to see what happens. We're also going to see a couple clips, speaking of elder abuse, coming up that are kind of make you go, what is happening? What is happening? You guys know the holidays are coming up. You know it is. You know that Scientology, my cult of choice, the cult I spent 35 years in, never disappoints in terms of doing something for the holidays. And they're lining up to do a holiday event, which they're going to try and use as a recruitment event for Scientology. So let's take a look here. I'm going to show you guys something that's coming up, and we're going to chat about it, including evidence that we can see on a stream from Dan Walks LA that this is actually really happening. This is Saturday, November 23rd, a holiday lighting community festival is happening on L. Ron Hubbard Way. See the lights that are up? They're putting those lights up now. They're putting up decorations now. It says, come celebrate with us. Help us flip the switch on 2 city blocks of holiday lights, hot cocoa, live music, and family fun. Yeah, some culty family fun, maybe. If you like to hang out with cult members doing culty things, trying to recruit you, then I suppose that could be considered family fun. Gives the address is 4810 Sunset Boulevard. That's the Los Angeles organization. That's right there on L. Ron Hubbard Way. It's supposed to last 4 hours. Scientology is saying that East Hollywood will light up for the holidays starting on Saturday, 23 November, with a holiday lighting festival. Let's be real. That's code for bring all your people, and we're going to try and recruit them into Scientology. Volunteers. Listen to this. Volunteers will contribute more than 200 hours to make this a memorable experience for the East Hollywood community as part of their campaign to keep Hollywood beautiful. Okay, so volunteers, what do we think these volunteers are? Do we think that these volunteers are going to be Scientologists, people in the community, people undergoing punishment maybe? In Dan Walks LA video, in his live stream I was watching on L1 Hubbard Way, there was a guy untangling all these lights. And I'm like, that looks like somebody who got in trouble. And now your job is to untangle all these Christmas lights so we can put them up for this holiday event. Who are they going to use for this? We hang lights up and down L. Ron Hubbard Way and the streets surrounding the church each year. And we're inviting the whole community to help us flip the switch on our holiday lights along 2 full city blocks. Honestly, I feel like people should show up and flip the switch on supporting a cult, especially a cult like Scientology. The lighting ceremony includes some very special guests, including Santa. I wonder who they're going to use for Scientology Santa. I mean, how do you find, is this somebody they hire to play Santa? Is it somebody who is a Scientologist? I really, I want to know, because what if a kid sits on Santa's lap and it's like, you know what I want for Christmas? I hope for peace on earth and ridding Xenu the Galactic Overlord of any and all control that he had over body thetans. I mean, how do you control that? You can also enjoy complimentary hot cocoa, live music, and photos with Santa. I gotta say, your girl here, I will show up for hot cocoa. I love a good hot chocolate. It might even get me to something like this just for the hot cocoa. Probably not, because let's be honest, I don't trust anything being served at a Scientology event. But live music, photos with Santa, and fun for the whole family, including an ice skating rink for the kids. Not only that, but Santa will be giving a gift to everyone who visits him. All right, so that event starts at 3, will go till 7. So Santa is going to give a gift to every kid who visits with him. How much? You guys want to make any bets? What do we think that gift's going to be? Way to Happiness book? The Truth About Drugs booklet? Maybe a Ron mag, maybe Ron the War Hero. You guys tell me in the live chat. If you're catching this on the replay, welcome. Hit like, jump into those comments and tell me what you think too. What is it they're going to hand out to every child? It just sounds suspicious. Am I being paranoid? Am I the only one? You guys tell me. Oh, Cubana Chica, are they going to hand out hand sanitizer? Can you imagine? Santa, for Christmas, I want the game Monopoly. I don't even know what kids want these days, you guys. I need to look into that, because I got grandkids I got to think about during the holidays too. And then they get handed a thing of hand sanitizer. David Bruce, Thetan tainted cocoa. Yeah, that's true. That's why I'm like, I don't know. I'm just not touching it. I'm really not touching it. Hey, Simon watched Raphael Como's YouTube video about Stephen Ridley. He talks to Stephen Ridley's henchman, Charlie Wakely, who 100% denies the Ridley Academy is recruiting front, but admits he and Ridley and many others are Scientologists. Yes, we highlighted that yesterday. That was a good one. I couldn't believe it that he did that. It was interesting indeed. Let's see. Hey, Don Gloves, good to see you. Not me on Amazon looking for sunglasses with a built-in camera. Your mission, should you choose to accept it. Go to L. Ron Hubbard Way and partake. I'm interested too in this ice skating rink. I do believe they put it in the parking lot of the Los Angeles organization. So that's the organization facing Sunset. They have that large parking lot where people from Kaiser and stuff that Scientology will allow them to park in there. I think that is where they're putting this ice skating rink for kids. Sanitizer clause. You guys are so naughty making fun of Scientology and Santa. Keep it coming. Mock says probably sugar-free candy, right? It could be, because that is a big thing. Sugar is frowned upon in Scientology. They're going to hand out the children's communication course. Oh gosh, I hope not, but would not put it past them. Even Jolie says, I wouldn't drink anything they gave me. Yes, I agree. Hey, Scientology up north. Good to have you here, Miriam. Welcome. SP Crusader says we should organize swapping the gifts for little Davies. Wouldn't that be funny? Every child attending has a choice. We should wake up OSA for this. Office of Special Affairs, wake up, because your dear leader has a message. For this Scientology event happening for Christmas, for the holidays, every child will get a David Miscavige doll and their own, turn them around, body Thetan. This is my body Thetan that I got from Feral Cheryl. She makes these. They're absolutely amazing. That would be fun stuff to hand out. Can you imagine kids and families walking around L. Ron Hubbard Way carrying these little Davy dolls. I mean, I think that would just be hilarious. But we know they're not going to do that. They're probably going to hand out Way to Happiness books. That's what I think. That's what I think. Oh my gosh, Nolo says maybe they'll give out cigarettes. Let's hope not. It is such a problem with the Scientologists smoking. Seriously. It still shocks me. I mean, I know back in my day, I remember like, wow, so many Scientologists smokes. Like, what's up with that? Then we found out that L. Ron Hubbard's all smoking doesn't give you cancer. Not smoking enough does. So with the Scientologists. Plus, let's be honest, it's one of the only ways Scientology staff members and Sea Org members could possibly get a break during their day because you don't get scheduled breaks, but you can leave to go smoke a cigarette. A lot of people protesting outside of Scientology locations, like in Kansas City, Z News or Scientology out at Kansas City will catch people in the alleyway and they will congregate during course break. So in Scientology, if you're on a course, you get a break, usually around 3:00 or so for 15 minutes to have some water, go to the bathroom, chain smoke as fast as you possibly can. All of the things. Let's see. I'm catching up here. All right, moving on, you guys. Sins of Scientology has released The Case of the Missing Squash, a sinfully spiced soup with a killer twist. During the holidays, I don't know if it's going to go beyond that, but I know right now they're putting out some really awesome recipes. Sins of Scientology does multiple true crime Scientology podcasts, telling you the dish about everything from the backstory and the truth about David Miscavige, the leader of Scientology, to Lisa McPherson, just major Scientology event, all the things that make them culty in a way that is entertaining, but also chock full of facts. This looks really yummy. Spiced butternut squash soup with crispy sage leaves. Oh, it looks amazing. I got to give that to my daughter and see if she can make it. See if she can make that for me. All right. Oh God, that looks so good. Now I'm actually kind of getting hungry. I'm laughing at your comments. Magnus, I'm way behind on my smoking. Do you guys remember that show that was on HBO? What was it called? Was it The Left? It was about basically it was this cult that formed during what might have been the rapture. All these people disappeared. The guy who used to be married to Jennifer Aniston, I think, whose name escapes me, but they all crazily smoked because they wanted to speed up the process of passing. It was crazy. It's always been a crazy part of Scientology. Sharona, you're right. The smoking thing is insane. LRH made up excuse for one of his vices. That should have been a huge red flag. But even doctors were smoking at the time. So I see how it didn't click back in the day. Yeah. And because Scientologists have to follow what L. Ron Hubbard say till the end of time, unless David Miscavige changes it in enough that he convinces them that, oh, it's not L. Ron Hubbard who said that before. It was somebody else. And we're just cleaning up the technology now. So rebuy your books, rebuy your courses, redo your auditing, give us all of your money. Then when we've taken all of your money, give us your children for staff. Justin Theroux. Thank you, Nancy. I think it was Justin Theroux in that show. Give us your children for staff, for the Sea organization, and all of the things. Let's see. All right, moving on. Let's go to a video that Jenna Miscavige did on learning to drive after Scientology. This was so interesting. Many of us who were in the Sea organization as kids did not get our driver's license when the rest of you may have been doing that, where you go to driver's ed and you can get your permit depending on your state or your country, what the laws are at 15 or 16. I got my driver's license at 19 because I was in the Sea organization there. I had just had my daughter and I was doing work in Seattle and in California for basically Flag, setting up events for Flag in Clearwater, where these two Scientologists would come and get people to spend all kinds of money on it. And I had to learn how to drive for my job. So that's the only reason I got my license then. I did pass the written test. I failed the driving test the first time in California. And it was because in Hawaii, where I was born and raised, we didn't have all these turning lanes. And I got really confused by that. But Jenna did this video, and there's so many gems in here, you guys. Let's listen to a clip.
I decided that I could no longer work at this jewelry store where me and Dallas had worked. Dallas is my ex-husband. Just because of all the Scientology that was going on there. Dallas's father was the owner of the company, and he would pull me into his office regularly to basically try to get information from me and report it back to the church. And he would try to get me to go back to the church and handle things the way that they wanted them to be handled.
Keep in mind, this was at her job. It was a job outside of Scientology, but working for Scientologists. And these Scientologists, family members of her former husband and another Scientologist, tried to pull this stuff.
And it just became too much. There was another Scientologist who was working there as well, and he even wanted to put me on the e-meter, which is Scientology's version of a lie detector, and he wanted to do Scientology counseling on me to improve me so that I could go back to Scientology. And it just became too much.
Gosh. So she gets away from the Sea organization for the first time, right, in her life. She's in the outside world trying to rebuild her life, needs to get her driver's license. Meanwhile, at the job she's working at, people are trying to get her back and to interrogate her and use the e-meter at a job. Why can't you just go do your job? But that is Scientology. If you work for a Scientologist, you can expect that Scientology will be applied to you because they are required to do that. They believe that L. Ron Hubbard's administrative technology that he wrote, and these were issued in these thick green volumes, green ink on white paper, that's the administrative side of Scientology. If it's red ink on white paper, it's the technical side. And Scientology businesses use this administrative technology, and all Scientology, especially if it involves other Scientologists. And let's be honest, even if not, we have heard of countless, one after the other, times, situations, reports, lawsuits where people not in Scientology, never in Scientology, went to work for a Scientologist and were forced to take Scientology courses. It's very insidious, and another way that they try to get new members into Scientology or get people who've left, like Jenna Miscavige, back into the fold. I saw a comment flying by from Cece. Cece was saying that she smoked cigarettes even with L. Ron Hubbard's doctor, Dr. Dank. That's interesting, Cece. Because, I mean, that's like his doctor. That tells you a lot right there, too. And didn't L. Ron Hubbard end up having a stroke? I'm telling you. That's crazy. Thanks for sharing that, Cece. All right, now let's go over to L. Ron Hubbard Way and talk about this decorating that's going on here. You guys, they're totally going to turn this into a recruitment event. Let's take a look at a couple clips from Dan Walks LA, who is out at the Blue Buildings. And right away, you see where they put out these cones. That marks where they're doing the decorations. Usually there's some on the other side of the sidewalk. I think those ones there are marking where those one lights went. Around this corner is where there was a guy trying to undo Christmas lights. So let's take a look at this. See the decorations? They're putting the wreaths up on the trees. The lights are going up. There's lights on the side of the Advanced Organization of Los Angeles that we saw. They're just going to keep adding those lights there and other decorations for this event on November 23rd, where they're going to flip the switch for all of the lights. They've got them on some of the buildings there. So this is well underway. They are preparing for this. I mean, when is the 23rd? I got to look at my calendar. I don't even know what today is. Okay, so it's not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. the Saturday before Thanksgiving. Yep. Okay, let's look at another clip from Dan Walks LA. But first, I want to share this comment. It's me. I was almost hired by a Scientology business in Clearwater. I am a never in. Seems they wanted to recruit me. I'm curious why they didn't. Thoughts? Well, it's me. If it was more recently, I've heard this from a few people. If it's more recently, I feel like they're kind of catching on because of the previous lawsuits against many Scientologists who had businesses who tried to force their employees to do Scientology, that they learned their lesson. And it does seem that we're seeing less of that because of that. And so when it happens, people make it known and it becomes a thing. And my guess is Scientology was like, hey, cool it. Like, there is a way to recruit people. Don't just, Scientology right off the bat, or tell them they can't work for you if they don't do Scientology. That is what was happening. And that's what many of these lawsuits were. People being let go because they wouldn't pursue Scientology because their boss was a Scientologist. Some serious craziness. Okay, back to Dan Walks LA. And thank you for the reminder, Susan. Hit that like button, everybody. Check your subscribe as well. Dan Walks LA was out there at the Blue Buildings and also had a conversation with a few Scientologists. One for sure is a Sea Org member. The other one could be a public person or a Sea Org member in civilian clothes. Let's see what happened.
It's okay to leave Scientology, miss. Freeloader's debt is not enforceable, and you should go live the best years of your life free from this cult. Good for you. No, you should actually blow and learn about the abuses of kids in Scientology, because kids cannot consent to child auditing.
They said they're already living their best life when he said living your best life.
Have fun supporting your child trafficking cult.
Dan was also counting plants there.
Where'd we leave off? 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 50.
It was interesting because sometimes the signal would get worse. And I've noticed that with some streams, it's almost as if allegedly, I'm guessing, I'm speculating, Scientology is using some type of cell phone jamming equipment, which they're not supposed to do. So I'm sure they're not doing it because you're not supposed to do that. So I'm sure it's totally coincidental that when you get near certain parts on L1 Hubbard Way, that it goes. And I'm sure it's just coincidental that it's not all the time. It only seems to be when certain people are there, it suddenly gets like that. I'm sure it's all coincidental. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here at all. Oh my goodness. Mirna, this is a great question. How come they celebrate Christmas when they don't believe in Christ? It's a moneymaker. It's a moneymaker. You think Scientology is not going to, support and celebrate a holiday where Scientologists can buy jewelry for Scientologists, books and lectures for Scientologists, donate money for their family members for Scientologists, or a way to make it look like their legitimate religion by celebrating Christmas? Growing up in Scientology, we always celebrated Christmas, not because we were celebrating. It wasn't so much about the birth of Jesus. It was more commercial Christmas. Santa, reindeer, all of that. We still did that. But yeah, don't get it twisted. Scientology only celebrates the holidays where they think they can get people in. They're using it. They're using it to host, hey, let's do this community event, get all these people here and do what they often do and try to recruit them into Scientology. Mock says they probably have the signal jammer placed just far away from the sidewalk to not get in trouble. I think you're right. Allegedly, I speculate. It could be. Who knows? It totally is that way. It is. It really is. Okay, so let's look at another clip from Dan Walks LA. And this one made me sad, you guys. It hits me in the feels when I see elderly Scientologists struggling. And you know that, like, it's like, how are you even affording what you're doing in Scientology because it's so expensive? Look at this. Dan Walks LA came upon a woman who had left the Advanced Organization of Los Angeles. And in the Advanced Organization Los Angeles, right outside that building, That is the building where they audit on the upper levels of Scientology, where you're dealing with Xenu and body thetans. That is the only building there where you do that, where you learn about that. And where you go in, it's all very high security. You get your secret materials, you unplug them from the secure plug. You go to your table, you plug them into a thing. If you don't plug in your secret materials, an alarm goes off, the entire building will be locked down. That's how extra Scientology is. And you'll notice, you'll see here, let me just play the video here.
Miss, you're part of a child trafficking cult. And
You'll notice her case that she has is attached to her. This holds her confidential materials. It's locked. There's probably a combo lock on there, and it is attached to her here. When you come and go from the Advanced Organization of Los Angeles, this building right here, you have to have your materials strapped to you. That's part of it. So when you see these briefcases and they're strapped to the Scientologist, they're carrying around their confidential Scientology auditing. It's filled with Xenu. It's filled with the body thetans that they've gotten rid of. It's filled with the stories of the body thetans they've gotten rid of, their past lives, things that happened to them during the times of flying spaceships. I'm not even making this stuff up. This is for real, you guys. And they have to strap it to them. I'm trying to remember. Okay, so back in my day, if we could all gather around for a back in my day. Back in my day, I did those Scientology upper levels on the Bridge to Total Freedom. Ooh, like early 2000s, I want to say. And I remember, I feel like I'm noticing something different. I'm noticing their cases look the same. So is this the e-meter case or is it just their briefcase? Because it doesn't look thick enough to have an e-meter in there. But usually, so I had to have my e-meter case and a separate case that had my confidential materials. And the confidential materials were put around a thing that went around my wrist. I do remember that. It was embarrassing. You had to have it connected to you at all times. And if you set that briefcase down in your own home, if you're not in the room that you are auditing in, or back at the hotel where they're auditing across the way, those Scientologists going back and forth from that hotel with these briefcases, they're in there auditing their body thetans. They are in there running body thetans through this whole Xenu thing. That's all they're doing for hours, day in, day out. They go across the street. This actually is, some of you guys know this because you're former Scientologists, but this is important to know. When they come out of there, they have to go into the Advanced Organization of Los Angeles to get what's called an exam. They're going to sit down in front of a person called an examiner. This person's going to be sitting there with a pleasant look on their face in front of an e-meter. On the other side of the e-meter are the cans. The operating thetan, the person with the strapped-on briefcase, will sit down, pick up those cans. They may say something, they may not say something. But the examiner's job is to hopefully see and indicate what's called a floating needle in Scientology. It just means like your vibe is chill and you're good and you're not like upset or jacked up about stuff. If that person doesn't get a floating needle while sitting at the examiner, something's wrong, all hell breaks loose, and they need to do some type of correction. So if people are walking from that building into the Advanced Organization Los Angeles and they're encountering live streamers or protesters and they're being upset by that, I'm imagining what it looks like when they sit there at the examiner. Like, what's happening? How do you still have a floating needle after somebody says you're in a human trafficking cult? So I wish I could be a fly on the wall because this can create a lot of trouble for Scientology, for that organization. Because if a Scientologist shows up at this examiner and they do not have a floating needle, their folder gets a red tag put on it, and it's called a red tag. That person needs to immediately within 24 hours be gotten into a session or correction and then go back to the examiner and show a floating needle. If they don't, they lose all their statistics for that week. So this is huge for a Scientology organization. So what is happening with the Scientologists showing up to get their exam if there's people outside being like, hey, Scientology is a cult. I just want to be a fly on the wall. Philip Jones says, I was assigned a lower condition of treason for failing to spin the locks on my case, even though it was still strapped to my wrist. I 110% believe that. So on the case, you have to like do the code. And if you don't change it, your code is showing. Yeah, I believe that, Phil. And a lower condition of treason in Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard said, hey, there are these steps you can do to get back into our good graces. They're called treason. They're called liability. And you can get back in our good graces. And when Scientologists get in trouble, like not locking their materials, following the protocol 100% correctly, they get assigned one of these conditions and have to do manual labor or donate money, or they might go volunteer to put up the Christmas lights for Scientology. Often people in trouble are doing that. And that's right. Philip Jones says lower conditions always include menial labor. Part of it is to embarrass the person so their peers see them scrubbing a bathroom floor with a toothbrush or sweeping the street outside, like whatever it is that they have to do because they had a violation of security. It's bizarre, you guys. Amber Vanette says, in the early 90s, I would sit in the OT waiting room. So that's the operating Satan waiting room at the Advanced Organization of Los Angeles, same when that older woman was outside, and play with whoever could play with me while they were waiting to go in session. You can't do that now. That's true. Back in my day, that was true. There were a couple kids of Scientologists that would come in. And I heard that too, Amber, that they weren't allowed to do that anymore. Can't be messing with those Scientologists and their floating needles. Let's take a look now. Wait, just to kind of wrap up that Down Walks LA thing, you guys see they are doing the decorations. They are getting ready for this. And this event will be on November 23rd. Now let's go over and let's take a look at a video where this is one of my favorite sounds here that I like to hear. This is Eric Rader happily putting up flyers in Los Angeles. I've just gotten to love that click, click, click. Complete with an Eric Rader laugh. I love that. Thank you, Eric, for doing that and getting those flyers up. You can find him here on YouTube, Eric Rader. But I love it. I love the laugh and I love the yes, that's right. Eric Rader, all the hearts. Thank you guys for showing him some love. All right, now let's move over to San Francisco where Club Brain Fog is out there. And this girl is funny, you guys. She talks about all kinds of things, including Scientology and what she sees and what's going on, but some interesting topics as well. So, and for, you know what? Let's make sure Eric sees all this love here. Marcy, thank you. Nice, Eric Rader. Magda says, Eric Rader is awesome. Tony says, love Eric. Does it matter to you? Not to me. Eric is OT10 while stapling. That's right. Operating Thetan level 10. Maybe that's what it really is. Susan says, I love Dan Walks LA and Eric Rader. Farrell Cheryl, good to see you. Hey, Cheryl, I already asked you this. I think I told my members on a members only video. I didn't tell everybody. Let's share that news right now if you're cool with it, which I know you are because I already asked you. Okay, couple things. I'm like feeling kind of ADHD right now. Let me center. Okay. Eric Rader showing the love. Love that. I love his laugh too. Farrell Cheryl is going to come spend Thanksgiving with me this year. This is my first holidays without my partner, Tony. Many of you who've been following my channel know he passed away 5 months ago. And let's be honest, it's just been a shit show. I've been figuring it out each day, showing up here, doing my recap, working through the grieving process. And I was really dreading the holidays coming up. And I thought, I just need something to be different about it. Because Tony and I always hosted Thanksgiving at our house. And then my sister would do Christmas. And I didn't want to change my family's tradition because that's, what we've always done and what we do. And I thought it'd be so great to have a friend here with me and someone I can take around town to all the different holiday things happening and still get to do that myself. And I reached out to Cheryl and I'm like, girl, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? And how would you like to come to Minnesota and spend it with me? So it's going to be a very feral Cheryl Thanksgiving. She's going to come. We're going to have all kinds of fun. And I'm sure we'll do some content together as well and share it with you guys. That's right, Becky. Eric is the best. That's right. Don, gloves, just a few staples here and over here and over here. Thwack, thwack, thwack. Love that sound. Yes, we're going to have so much fun, Cheryl. I'm really looking forward to it. And it's really helped me. It's helping me to see the holidays in a different way, in a way that can be a new tradition, something different. And I mean, can you imagine the fun I'm going to have with Feral Cheryl? So yeah, I think this is fantastic. Nolo says, oh my God, yay, you're all going to have a great time. James Steele, thank you for the hearts, James Steele. And thank you for the funny jokes too, that you're always dropping into the chat to bring some levity. Amber says, love Eric. He always says, hi, Amber. Good to see you. I love that. Marcy says, that's so cool. Farrell and Nat having Turkey Day together. So awesome. And in my family, we celebrate Thanksgiving the day after. And so we'll probably be getting ready for it on Thanksgiving. Actually, I got a couple ideas for Thanksgiving Day that we might do. But for us, our larger celebration is going to be the day after. Feral Cheryl says, I'm so excited to spend the holidays with you, Natalie. It'll be a good giggle. Oh, it will. It will. If we do not laugh so hard we pee at least once a day, we're going to need a do-over because you're not doing it right otherwise. And I can't imagine it's not going to be that way. Ooh, we got a little dirt, a little tea, a little skinny to share that just dropped into the chat. Me and Taz says, I have a secret crush on Eric Rader. Don't tell him. I love that, me and Taz. James says, Natalie and Feral Cheryl need to come with a health warning. David Bruce, Natalie, you're doing amazing. I was in a hole for years after loss. You're amazing. Thank you, David. And I am very much in a hole. Doing this each morning really sets like the tone and the pace for me and like just getting going on my day. But it is still incredibly difficult, but I am finding my way and hugely with the help of so many of you that are so supportive. We're doing another members only live stream today. We're going to do it at 4:00 Central Time. And if you're a member, join. If you can't catch it live, catch it on the replay. We're going to get into a whole bunch of stuff that we do in these member only chats. And if you want to become a member and additionally support my channel that way, you can go to, there is a link in the description of this video to do that and join us today at 4 p.m. Central. Like I said, we've been doing this weekly and it's been really good. And it's also a good opportunity for me to share some of those behind the scenes things that I don't want to drag into doing the morning recap. I just try to separate those things, a bit because I want to get through this without being a sobbing mess. But sometimes I'm a sobbing mess in the members only live. So that's what we're doing today. Mock, that's hilarious. Natalie goes feral. Oh my gosh, you guys crack me up. Krista, what a blast you'll have for Turkey Day. Truly. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. Nolo says, love that we have this community, Nat. It helps so many of us. I agree with that completely. So many of you have had a loss like mine, are going through a loss like mine, and that we can be here for each other and normalize the grieving process and the crazy things that happen. I think the more, the better that way. We talk about everything in the members only. I mean, I try to keep it really loose. I feel like it's an opportunity for me to be able to really communicate with you guys more, without talking about other, like on the recap where we go from topic to topic. Well, me and Taz, I just blew your secret. If it's a secret, you have to preference it with, this goes in the vault. Okie dokie dokie. All right, let's move on now. Again, we were about to head to Club Brain Fog, who is hilarious in San Francisco, and see what she's doing with her Scientology protests out there.
Gotta add toilet paper to it. So, do you miss your friends? Do you miss your family? Do you wish you could be out here doing something different than having to listen to me every day?
I think so. Sometimes they peek through the door at her. You'll see somebody and then they'll go and they'll close the door. I'm not sure the door works. Like, I don't think it closed all the way, but Club Brain Fog is a hoot to watch. She is funny, and she's outside Scientology San Francisco, which is the home to Aaron Cairo, the Scientologist who runs the day organization and also Braille skateboarding. He's been in the media a lot because of the whole Braille skateboarding thing and the ties to Scientology. So it's a fun one to keep an eye on out there in San Francisco. That's right, Marcy. Oh, good. Then they can hear her if the door is not closed. I agree. And you can tell she knows that too. I think she totally knows that. Okay, now speaking of Feral Cheryl, let's take a look at a clip from Feral Cheryl in Clearwater. Last night, let's see, Feral Cheryl was out there. Aaron from Growing Up in Scientology was out there. Dusty Soda Dispenser was out there. There was a Daryl Hall concert. So they were out sharing the message, the truth about Scientology to all of those people. And then they went over to the Fort Harrison Hotel. And there's a story that Aaron shares about a Scientologist that's very disturbing. Listen to this.
Oh, he doesn't know when to, okay.
So on my live stream on Friday night, outside the Fort Harrison, pulled up a black wrapped Tesla.
Okay. Right.
That was Manuel Suarez.
Why does that sound familiar?
His father, Francisco Suarez, was the richest, most famous OTA Scientologist in Puerto Rico who bought the building for the org and jumped to his death. He's one of the OTA suicides that
that's
Scientology
why. Okay, that's why I recognize the name.
Has covered up.
My God, really?
The number of operating Thetan level 8 Scientologists who have either unalived themselves or somebody else is beyond disturbing. It really is. I wonder if somewhere there's a master list of that. I mean, it's a horrific list. And if not already one, somebody should make it, because I mean, really just one, just even of just the Scientologists, but it takes on an extra twist because Scientologists don't know this. They don't find out about this. They're not allowed, if they hear this story of what happened to that guy's dad, what he did, they're not allowed to tell people. That's called spreading in theta in Scientology. And you're not allowed to do that because it can upset people. You're not going to spread in theta. And really the reason why it's done is to hide the secrets, to hide what's really happening to Scientologists, especially ones at the top of Scientology's bridge to total freedom. It is not the bridge to total freedom. It is the bridge to total bankruptcy and other things. But yeah, there needs to be a list of that. Okay, let's see now. Let's go over to, let's talk a little bit. We're going to tackle this topic of cults in America and what's going on. You guys, Rick Ross is a cult expert who has worked with many now former Scientologists. I had him on the channel like a month or so ago. I will try to remember. Nancy, can you help me remember to link that video in the description of this one? But he's been working with people, with getting people out of cults, doing interventions for decades. This guy's been on like multiple media outlets and platforms for years, and he is still doing it. And he did an interview which really showed some really disturbing things that we want to take a look at in regard to, we talk about Scientology the most here, and Scientology being a cult. And there are so many other cults. There is a disturbing number of cults, especially in the United States. And so this article is in the Daily Mail, And it says, I risk my life to help people escape dangerous cults. Here are the signs someone has been brainwashed. And his name is Rick Allen Ross. He's 71. He's from Ohio, and he has helped 500 cult members break free. 500 cult members. That's amazing. But his job isn't easy as he's been harassed by cult leaders over the years. He gave Daily Mail a fascinating look inside his profession. Can you imagine? Think about it. Here, where we talk about and expose Scientology and all the other people who are doing it on YouTube and different platforms, there's a level of harassment that Scientology will do. It really depends on who you are, what you're doing, how often you're doing, what you know, and who you're talking to. That's kind of how they determine who they're going to actually harass. Somebody like Rick Ross, it's not just Scientology. It's multiple other cults that he's going after and that he is freeing people from. So this man is making enemies upon enemies of these cults who are very similar to Scientology in how they operate. And what I love about this article, which I'm going to link down below so you guys can read the whole thing, is the information he shares about how easy it is or can be to be recruited into a cult. So he's dedicated his life to helping members of cults break free from their sects by staging cult interventions. And over the last 4 decades, he's helped more than 500 victims. He has worked alongside law enforcement on some of the most infamous cases and has been called to stand to testify in trials against powerful cult leaders and sadistic pedos. He helped put NXIVM founder Keith Raniere behind bars and was consulted by the FBI before the 1993 Waco standoff because he was the only cult expert who had deprogrammed its members in the past. And I got a little side note about that story with the whole Waco thing. Rick Allen Ross had gotten people out of Scientology before he was consulting on what happened with Waco. And it was actually a former Scientologist. No, let me take that back. It was an Office of Special Affairs operative, so current Scientologist, a person being used by Scientology, who let the Waco cult leader know that Rick Allen Ross was doing an intervention with one of his key members. You tracking me there? Rick Allen Ross was doing an intervention with a member of the Branch Davidians, David Koresh's cult. And it was a Scientology operative to try and mess with him, reached out to David Koresh and said, hey, guess what? Rick Allen Ross is deprogramming one of your members right now. So when the article says that he risks his life to do this, it's no joke. And it is multiple cults. And I'm going to be honest, when I I think about Rick Allen Ross, when I think about, okay, so think about how even, Scientology over the years has harassed my family. That is nothing really in the grand scheme of things compared to what he has gone through and what others have as well. Like this is multiple cults that now you're up against and you're dealing with. And I say this as somebody who is about to get into sharing multiple cult stuff with you guys in the coming days, because I've been going down some rabbit holes and I've been wanting to get into more other cults and how they relate to Scientology's, the similarities, how myself, my family, and other Scientologists broke free, how the other cult members broke free. It's all about spreading awareness and education. Scientology Up North says Rick Allen Ross is more hardcore than the Rick Ross. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, pause for Andrea. I'm glad you're going to pop in on the replay. Marcy says, oh my God, crazy. And Rick Allen Ross, so brave. My friend went to high school with David Koresh. No kidding. Did your friend have any signs or see, were there red flags that he was going to end up doing what he did and becoming a cult leader? I always wonder, when you knew them as a child, did this person show signs that they might become a cult leader? I feel like L. Ron Hubbard did in multiple ways. That is another story for another day. So this article goes on to talk about how He's performed more than 500 successful cult interventions across the U.S. Let's see. Oh, so here, this part I wanted to read. And while aiding in cult victims cutting ties with a horrific sex is certainly rewarding, he has also spoken out about some of the downsides to professions like being harassed by cult leaders. In fact, Rick told dailymail.com that his life has been threatened numerous of times and that he has had to have protection from the government. So, yeah. So how do they work? Well, first, Rick explained that families who believed a loved one has joined a cult reaches out to him. And there's Culinary there, where Rick helped put the NXIVM founder behind bars. He was consulted by the FBI before the 1993 Waco standoff. Cult programming interventions last days. So there's kind of a bit of a history there here too. And he talks about how these interventions are done. I come in as a complete surprise, much like a drug or alcohol intervention. The person does not know the family is going to do an intervention he dished. So you never tell the person in advance because they would probably communicate with members of the group who would try to sabotage the intervention or tell them they should not attend or insist a member of the cult is present for the intervention. So yeah, of course, they're not going to show up if you tell them that's what you're doing, especially, with cults. I think it's also interesting and this article, it gets into so much. I'm not going to read the whole thing because of time, but it is fascinating. It's fascinating. In fact, I don't know. I might even have to do a separate video just on this because there's so much information in there. Mock says, is getting harassed in this field already a positive review? Well, you got to be doing something right if Scientology is harassing you that they don't like that they're doing. A lot of what we see today when it comes to harassment and what the Office of Special Affairs does. So I'll tell you what the Office of Special Affairs does, and we're going to speak quietly so they don't hear in case they're sleeping because they are overworked and they don't get enough sleep and they don't get enough proper food. You see, the Office of Special Affairs, what they do is they go into the chats of different people here on YouTube and they gaslight people. They'll do things like say, oh, Natalie said XYZ when Natalie never said that. Or so-and-so said this about you. And now not every single one of them are an Office of Special Affairs troll. Some of them are just regular internet trolls. But the Office of Special Affairs operatives, what they do is behind the scenes, they try to connect with people who are critical or have disagreements with other people in the community of exposing Scientology. And they try to deepen those disagreements by sharing information, by sharing basically what Scientology calls enemy lines. You see, the Office of Special Affairs, what they do is they sit down and they go, okay, let's see, who's our target today? And let's use me for an example. It's Natalie. Okay, so the enemy lines we're going to spread because what they do, their program runs like this. They come up and create rumors that cannot be traced back to them. The second part is to spread the rumors throughout a community in a way that cannot be traced back to them. The next part is to get other people to spread those rumors, and again, that cannot be traced back to them. So I can usually spot pretty well an Office of Special Affairs enemy line about me because they stick to a very consistent playbook. They try to go at it from a couple of different ways, but what happens then is other people who have a platform or a voice might be gaslit by these comments and take them as truth and run with it. But if you pay close attention, you can see it. And honestly, the best thing, my opinion, my approach to it is I just ignore it. Because whether it's an Office of Special Affairs troll or it's just a regular internet troll, it is not what my audience is here for. I'm here to expose Scientology as much as I possibly can. It's kind of just an interesting tidbit that Scientology does this. They've been doing it for decades. If you follow Tori Magoo 44, she talks about that too. My mom back in the day was a Scientologist who volunteered to stir up trouble on the internet. They would go into forums and groups of former Scientologists and try and create arguments and fight or distract. So if you're talking about David Miscavige, they'll try to get you to talk about some other thing unrelated to Scientology or about a personality. So it becomes this cult of personalities, of attacking personalities. Then you're no longer forwarding the actual truth about Scientology and cults because you become distracted by fighting each other. And there's this whole cult of personality going on because Scientology wants all of us doing that instead of talking about David Miscavige, about how they're going to try and use this holiday event to recruit. That is their entire goal. So keep that in mind when you see those things across the internet or you see it in a chat where someone's trying to stir up trouble, especially when it involves people who are exposing Scientology. When those things are being forwarded, you know that the Office of Special Affairs is hard at work, or they're trying to be, and they're trying to use people unknowingly. The person repeating the enemy line that they come up with often doesn't know that that's a Scientology operative. They don't know that they're actually being used. If they did, they wouldn't be doing it. But that's the whole point. Office of Special Affairs people are very trained and practiced. They drill this. They drill and practice before they do it. What is the rumor? How are you going to spread it? Who are you going to spread it to? Who are you going to get to spread it? And they just continue on like that. Interesting kind of side note there. But I'm going to link that Rick Ross thing down below. And then in the coming days, we're going to get into a couple of other cults that are just blowing my mind. But I want to hear from you guys. Email me, Natalie at lifeafteraCult.com. If there's a cult that kind of sparks your interest, I want to know if it's on my list or not, and we will get to it. I'm going to start adding into the recapping some other cults as well, because there's a lot going on closely related to what Scientology is doing. And Scientology might even get upset about the fact that, other cults are getting in on their action. Like there's competition in the cult world because there's such a ridiculous number of them. Hey, Dusty Soda Dispenser. Hello from Cultwater. I don't know if you were here earlier, but we were talking all about that you guys were out in Clearwater last night protesting and raising awareness about Scientology. M. Vogue says Aaron had a lot of trolls in his chat last night. Absolutely, especially if he's out at Florida in Clearwater at the belly of the beast doing it there. They do not like that. Scientology, no like. They do not like that. And when you do a vertical stream, you do automatically get a lot more trolls just because it's out. YouTube will push that vertical stream often out into the algorithm. And so you just get all kinds. You really do. All right, let's see here. Well, I'm going to keep that there. Okay, so again, today, 4 o'clock, I'm doing a members only live, 1 p.m. Central today. I am sitting down with Bridget, I am so having a brain fart on pronouncing her name, from Et Voila. She has been exposing Scientology and doing it in French. I have been wanting to talk to her for a long time, and scheduling being as difficult as it was, we've nailed this down. We're going to be doing a live stream at 1 p.m. Central Time today. In fact, once I get off here, I'm going to create the notification for that. And I think that's going to be an interesting conversation. I can't wait to hear what she's been up to, hear more about her story and what's going on. So I hope you guys can catch that. If you can't catch it live, catch it on the replay. And if you have not yet seen my interview with Mike Brown, go to my channel, go to live, scroll down and find it, because Mike Brown has something to say. That's what it was called. And he had a lot to say. And it was really nice to see Mike back and sharing. And he's going to be back here on YouTube. He's working towards doing some weekly content again. He's been incredibly busy. He has a family. He has twin girls, and he has a very important job in the military. And our military has been very busy, is how he put it. So keep an eye out for that as well. And check out that video if you haven't already. All right, you guys, aloha. I hope you all get out and have an amazing cult-free